Firstly, I'm going to share a few more stories of how easy dating is for very attractive guys, and then we'll talk about their career opportunities and also their social circle. There was one guy that was in the same Air Force unit as me, who had a phenomenal face structure. He was overweight, around 5'11" and 210 pounds, yet his face was still phenomenal. Even at this weight, he had hollow cheeks, prominent cheekbones and a sharp jawline, while I need a beard at 170 to look decent. So, an old female friend of mine wanted to show her some guys from the army. That guy was the definition of a pushover. He was very scared of even the tiniest chance of confrontation. A true definition of beta according to Red Pillars. He also couldn't pronounce the letter R properly. Yet he still had a gorgeous girlfriend, and the best part was when I showed him to my friend. I told her the truth about his character and she didn't care one bit. I'm like, he's so shy and has trouble pronouncing the letter R, and all she had to say was, I think that's kinda cute. You can't discredit looks. Once a girl decides she likes a guy, he must do something very horrible in order to turn her off, and even then she might forgive him. Even criminals can get away with their choices if they're attractive enough. Another recent one is about one of my best friends. The one that complains about dating 8s instead of 9s, if you remember him from the previous video. So anyway, he had a casual thing going on with a girl, and then the unthinkable happened. She introduced him to her best friend and she pushed hard for them to Netflix and chill. She was like, he has a great body, you'll love it. All that in front of him. He obviously ended up sleeping with her friend, but I think he missed a chance of a trio. If he tried to game them a little more, I believe he would have gotten it. It's crazy how these girls viewed having an experience with the same guy. It was like some sort of bonding. Staying with my best friend but changing subjects. He used to work in a restaurant, and I don't know how you call these guys, but we call them welcomers. The guy that's right after the bouncer and welcomes you and puts you in the table. Of course he was able to land this job due to his physical appearance. The owner was his friend, but still, he wanted someone tall and attractive as the forefront of his business. So he chose my buddy. And here's the craziest part. After a few months of quitting that job, he received a message on his Instagram. It was a woman who wrote the following. Hi, I ate once at the restaurant you worked for and I was blown away by your communicative skills and your politeness. I work as an agent for a new restaurant chain and I'd like to invite you to an interview for the same post. So, to make this clear, a woman sees him at a restaurant where he just said hi, your table is number 4, hope you'll have a good time, and she searched the place on Instagram, found my friend's account and gave him a job opportunity. You can't make this stuff up, even my friend couldn't believe it. And the money was around 2 times more than what he earned at his previous job. Multiple guys went to the interview, but of course the female agent handpicked my friend. I guess she was really blown away by the way he said welcome. Let's move on to another Chad friend of mine. Remember the lawyer guy with the crazy lay count from the previous video? As I mentioned there as well, he has worked in many nightclubs. I guess another polite guy. He was in a similar position as my other friend, and these guys get paid to just sit there and say good evening, here's your table, and they often get paid more than the waiters and the bartenders, who usually work very hard. Another career path for these guys is modeling. And one of my friends had the opportunity but decided not to do it. Imagine getting paid for being handsome. Now, there are male models on YouTube and TikTok that complain about their career being hard, and I'm not saying that it's always easy, but come on. It's better than having a blue-collar job or having to sit in front of a computer 8 hours a day. And here's another mind-blowing fact that I also mentioned in another video. Only around 15% of men are over 6 feet tall, yet 58% of CEOs are 6 feet or taller. So being tall and handsome can help immensely in every career path, but this doesn't mean that every Chad can have a high-paying job. I've seen Chads that are working at McDonald's or cafeterias. There's the limiting factor of IQ, family background, etc. Not everyone can become a CEO, and there can be only so many models. But even in the low-status jobs, Chads have an advantage over other men. They seem more trustworthy, more confident, etc., so they have a better chance of getting hired. And since we mentioned IQ, let's talk about it. Some people believe that the attractive ones, whether that's men or women, aren't so bright compared to the average man or woman. And this has become a stereotype, like the word bimbo that's been thrown around a lot for beautiful women. But is this true though? Are Chads and Stacys dumb? Well, there are 2 different ways to approach this. One could say that the physical appearance of a human isn't indicative of his IQ, and when I say IQ, I mean it in the broader sense, not just the ability to recognize patterns. And yes, there's nothing to suggest that highly attractive people are born with fewer brain cells than the rest of us. On the other hand, it's not completely genetic. Someone could argue that since Chads have everything on a silver platter, they don't have the motivation to participate in activities like reading and learning new things. They are complacent living the Chad life, so they don't ever evolve. And I'm sure we've all met a person like this. A model like man or woman, who's relying so much on their good looks that they neglect everything else. To be honest, I don't know what's the truth here. I can relate to both points. What's your take on this one? Comment below and let's move on to our next point. We talked about dating and jobs, but what about friendships? Is it easier for Chads? Well, I think this is going to be the hardest to explain and draw conclusions from. Yes and no. Let me elaborate. I've never seen a loner Chad in my entire life. Never ever. On the opposite side of the spectrum, I've seen many unattractive guys who struggle to form friendships. And I think it's fairly obvious why. Unattractive people don't believe in themselves, they often have low self-esteem and therefore don't believe that someone would want their friendship. On the other hand, most Chads are usually more confident and they have a nice vibe going on. Again, based on the people I've met in my life, I'm not saying that this is 100% how it is. So it seems like Chad wins again. Well, not so fast. As I mentioned earlier, many highly attractive guys are heavily relying on their looks, so they never develop the necessary characteristics that a good friend must have. They can't relate to other people easily, they give bad blue pill advice, such as, just talk to her, etc. This is called survivorship bias. Just because something worked out for them, they think that it will work out for everyone. And I've been guilty of this too. I'm not a Chad, and it's difficult to be unbiased when you rate yourself, but according to how women have treated me in my life, I'd say I'm around a 6, maybe a 7 on my good days. So, even though my dating life hasn't been on easy mode, I've had some relationships over the years. And I thought because something worked out for me, it must be the ultimate truth. I was so brainwashed by the pickup artist stuff that I was saying things like, just learn game, to guys who stood no chance. And another personal story of mine that really gets the point across. As I've already mentioned, I'm not a Chad. But I happen to be in a group of quote-unquote friends, more like double-faced snakes, but that's a story for another time. So anyway, in this group I happen to be the most attractive male. The other 3 dudes in that group were all obese and also balding. One of these dudes happened to have a crush on one of the girls of that group. A brunette girl, average face, average height, average everything, but still way more attractive than him. Being the most handsome one inside the group, I would naturally get a little more attention than the other guys. And the guy that had a crush on the brunette girl started to hate me for no reason whatsoever, since I wasn't even flirting with his crush. He went as far as spreading rumors about me that were completely incorrect. He was so insecure that he tried to convince the girls of the group that I had special preferences, if you know what I mean. And again, for the millionth time, I'm not a Chad. I just happen to be more attractive than the rest of the guys. The point here is that attractive men are seen as a threat by other guys, and they'll try to eliminate them as an option with various tactics. And that happens in female friendships too. I've seen many girls being nice in front of Stacy's, and the second they turn their back, the freak show begins. They'll start telling you about that girl's body count, etc., etc. And jealousy can be a factor in the workplace too. People often see Chads as a threat everywhere, and they try to get rid of them, whether that's in social groups or in the workplace. So as you can see, it's not all sunshine and rainbows for our Chad friends, but still, I'd rather be a blue-pilled gigachad who can't relate to others and deals with jealousy, rather than a struggling normie. As always, leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.